Hello, good afternoon. It's about 1 PM on Thursday the 16th of January and I'm just out on my third and final hot tent camp of this season. You'll see that I'm on my trusty winter stroke touring bike, the giant Tough Road SLR2. Just a couple of things before we carry on with the hot tent camp. This really is set up for full-blown winter touring, so I'll just run you through it quickly. I've got two rear carriage dry panniers on, that's the bulk of the weight in there. A 4 litre water cell, that's full up. Two 75ml water bottles, one with squash, one with excess water, and my two front panniers. And I've also got all my wood, my axe, my gloves, my buck saw, a gathering bag in there with all the wood I've bought from Bath. That's quite a bit of weight on the front, it's keeping it off the panniers. On the last video I was telling you how I upgraded this bike. It's marketed as a gravel bike, but I just saw the instant potential for it being a summer touring bike and a winter commuting bike really. And I was telling you last week about all the upgrades I've done, such as the mud guards, the racks, everything, and these bar ends. I forgot to admit I'd upgraded the tyres actually. It came with 700 by 50C tyres, which were great. They were quite knobbly, but when I read up about them, they didn't have a great reputation for puncture resistance. Anyway, I transferred over to Schwalbe marathon tyres. They're what I've been using touring for the last 10-15 years, and I've also found them really good and reliable in the winter. I was so confused by the sizes, I really was, so let me just briefly explain. When I bought my first proper touring bike, it was a Claude Butler Majestic. My mum gave me some money for my 18th birthday and that's what I used it for. And it came with 27-inch wheel tyres. And that was round about the transition period. Most people had already transferred onto 700C. And it was only a matter of literally a couple of years until I did. And as I always understood it, from that day until quite recently, 700C was roughly the same as 27-inch. It was just a metric measurement. I was always told 700C was slightly smaller than 27-inch wheels, but to think of it as almost the same. When it came to replace the tyres on here, I was so confused because I was told these new 700 wheels can either take 27.5-inch tyres, 28s or 29s inches. I just asked a friend of mine on an All Axe event, he's an organiser, I trust his opinion, and he just said to me, Andy, just get 28s. If you're riding 700 by 50s, that's the equivalent of 28 by 2 inches, and that's what I went and bought, and they fit on perfectly. But to be honest, now I've got them on, I don't really care how they're marketed, as long as they fit and they work. So I've gone over from a metric size to an imperial size, but much better quality tyres. And also on that last video I showed you fitting me these new Ergon GP4 Ergo grips. On Sunday I took the bike out for a ride in the ice. I felt so much safer on this one, I really did. And I just tweaked them a little bit. I took out my torque wrench and they did need a slight bit of adjustment. I just needed to turn them slightly and then they just felt so good. And I feel I've got them how I want them now. And the same with the cow horns, it just felt so much better. I did say on that video that I wasn't sure whether I should have gone for the small or the large extensions here, the palm grips. I knew I wanted the 4 version of the cow horns, and I think I've made the right decision. Once I got that micro adjustment, it felt really, really comfortable. But it would take a real long ride for me to definitively say yes or no. So after this hot tent ride, I'm going to take the front rack off, just carry on riding with a top bag, and next Saturday I'm down to ride the Jack and Grace 100km All Axe, that's about 62 miles from North Bristol. So there and back it'll take it up to about 95-100 miles. I'm going to do it on this. It'll be very, very slow, but it'll be a really good chance to test ride it. Can I ride all day on this bike and it be comfortable? But I referred to it on the last video, what I've discovered with the cylindrical grips and the cow horns on my Caribou and also on my motorbike, I would get tingly fingers. And this MD on Twitter picked up on that on one of the posts I put out, and he said it was to do with this nerve that you trap under your palm, and he made some suggestions. But the long and short of it is you're putting a lot of body weight down on a nerve, which just cuts the ply. And these two graphics from the Ergon website, I think, explain that really well. One of them will show you what's called the ulnar nerve, which is, I think, the problem I was having. It was cutting off blood supply. And the other picture they've got on there explains why these grips are so important. It's all to do with the angle your hand and wrist has in relation to your forearm. And I think that's what I was finding when I went out on Sunday. I hadn't got that quite right. As soon as I flipped it very, very slightly, it just seemed to make so much difference. Literally just a couple of millimeters. And I think it's all to do with that angle. Until I start wearing short sleeves t-shirts and mitts in the summer, I probably won't be able to see. But that did seem to rectify the problem. The other thing I left out of that video is, according to the Ergon website, if you wanted to buy, say, the GP5 or the GP2 or etc., the different length cow horns, you don't have to buy the full grip. You can buy just what's called the GP1. That's that part. That's without any cow horn on. So if I did decide I didn't want the large, I wanted to try the smalls, I would just buy a GP1 in small and then take these off of here, put them on the GP1s, if that makes sense. But I don't think I'll have to do that. It was always an option in case I had made wrong choice, but I actually really think the large suits me quite well. Anyway, enough about the bike. I had intended on this final hot tent camp of the season to actually ride up to the top of Bannerdown and hot tent camp on the Fossway on some common ground up there. But because I'm trying new kit out, I've just taken the easy option really. I've actually come to an old favourite of mine, what I call Boydmouth. It's a little picnic area just off the Bastard Bristol bike track. So tonight I'm going to do stir-fried chicken in lemon sauce with rice. I've got chocolate pudding for my dessert, and I've got a fry up in the morning. I'm quite keen to get there because I want to chop some wood. I've brought quite a little bit of dry wood with me from home. I want to use my axe, my saw, my gloves and my gravel bag to collect a lot more at the site. There's some woods just behind it, so that would be a good source of some winter wood. I want to try to improve my winter wood gathering skills, but more about that when we get there. Very bumpy along here with tree stumps. I always pump up the tyre pressures when I bring out panniers, especially on the back, so it feels like quite a harsh bumpy ride, but hopefully it'll protect the frame and the wheels from the majority of the vibration from the panniers. Here we are, I just left the end of the platform, about to cross the river, and there's the little jetty down there. Just behind that, to the right of those boats, will be the picnic site. And there's a little path along here on the left. I better put the camera away along here. Haven't got the handlebar mount today. You can see there's a lot of trees sat there. That can be quite slippery down there. Here we are, down just below the railway embankment. So I've just come along there, turn left down this S-bend. We're down at the picnic site, and that's where I'll be putting my tent up over there. First of all, let's just go down on the pontoon. You can see there's a defined footpath that comes across here. Picnic benches. Used to be bins down here, but they don't seem to get serviced anymore. And here's the pontoon. A couple of boats moored up for the winter. Hanging on here to the railings, it feels very steep and very slippery. Oh, there's 3 boats, 4. So I did come down here and do a recce on Sunday just to make sure it wasn't flooded, because recently I came down and the top of one of the boats was almost at the top of that white pillar here. I mentioned it before, when it floods here it really does rise substantially, and those boats go up there and you can gauge how bad it is from the railway track by where their roofs are in relation to the top of this pillar. So that would definitely have been flooded then. So I did just come down to make sure it is campable, if that's the right word. I sometimes come down here after dark, other times I don't. I try and respect people's privacy. I mean, would you want people walking along your back lane filming? Probably not. It's easy to come over these bridges and just think, oh yeah, I'm crossing the river, but can you see what a substantial structure it is? Concrete, steel, and steel supports keeping it out of the river, and 2 brick and stone abutments. I may come down here after dark. You can see all the easy wood's gone. They all burn wood down here, but I know there is fallen dead wood in the woods, which is why I want to spend about an hour processing some wood, which is why I've come here early actually. May come down here tonight. Depends really. If I feel like I'm invading people's privacy, I don't particularly want them coming over trying to talk to me, so why would they want me down there filming? Lots of lights. There's a path I came down. I normally put my tent up over there, lean the bike up against a tree, then I'll walk into the woods because I know there is some deadfall in there, and that's what I'm going to go and try and find, some dead wood or some fallen wood, and then start processing it into firewood for tonight. So you can see there's a little stream coming down here behind us, which joins the River Avon just past that wooden bridge. This is normally where I put my tent about here, and I'm going to head up into those woods and look for some wood. In the past I've always bought my axe and my gloves and my saw packed out with the wood burner, which is, you know, wedged in one of those panniers, and I'm just sort of thinking it makes much more sense to have it there accessible. So you can see I can just open that up. As well as wood in there, I've got a rubble bag, some gloves, my saw and my axe. So it's so much easier just to dig this out here. So there's my axe, my gloves, my saw. Just need to prepare those and we wander into the woods. There's my buck saw converted from tubular storage form into a fairly sturdy structure, really sharp blade. And my axe, that's really sharp. I sharpened that recently as well as all my knives. So hopefully that's going to make processing the wood easy. Got my gloves and a rubble bag. Let's go and gather wood. Okay, I've come across this one that you can see it's dead fallen. That'll do me, I think, most of that. The branches. I'm just going to drag that down here because it's a bit flatter. I can use that for chopping, and I can also keep an eye on my bike there just in case anybody was to come down. Just about 50 yards back in the woods I saw a big fallen branch, looked quite good, about 10-12 feet long. As you can see, I chopped off about 10 or 12 logs, then split them in half to give me about 20 or 24, whatever it was. And I've been round and snapped off a load of small stuff to start the fire. And I've just put my ground sheet down there. I'll start putting my tent up about there. It's only about 2:30, but I'm just keen to get my tent up. I think I've said this a few times before, but I will just repeat it. The hot tent, because it's a single skin octagonal tent, it can seem a bit complicated to put up at first. In theory it should be simple, but in practice I find it more difficult than all my other tents. So it's going to be an octagonal shape, so as the name suggests, 8 anchor points. So what I do is I find the central point. There's actually a tag on there actually, so you can find the very apex. And what I do is I just put 4 pegs out, so you can see that's where this stove jack's going to come through. There's 2 doors, so that's a good way to identify the front door, and then the rear door is 180 degrees at the back. So that's the way I want to be facing. That's going to be my door that way, so I'll be able to see anybody coming towards me. The river's towards my back. So I peg it out in 4 points to start with, loosely. So right by the front door, 1, at the back, and then go round every second peg and then peg it out. So you've got, in effect, north, south, east and west. And then I'll get inside, put the pole up, form the shape, and then you instantly then find you probably have to retension it a couple of times. That's the best way I've found to do it. And then I will tension it and get all the pegs in and the guy ropes out, and then of course you've got to erect the inside as well. But that's what I'm going to do. Peg it out 4 places, get the pole in, then readjust it. And that's what I've just done. Front door, back door, second pegging out point, second pegging out point. So you can see it's almost kind of a diamond shape. I'm going to go in through the door, take the pole in, and then push it up, and it will meet the inside of the fly sheet right underneath that. And then you normally come out and you find you've pulled at least 1 peg up, or it sags a little bit, and that gives you an idea then of the structure of it. You can see with the 4 pegs in, it's upright, it's got a little bit of structure, it's fairly flimsy. I'll go round, adjust all the tension, get all 8 pegs in, and then I'll start pulling the guy ropes out. That's all 8 pegs in now, so you can see a lot of the creasing's gone. I'll just make sure the door opens, and then we'll start pulling the guy ropes out and getting all the tension. Okay, so the main structure's up. Front door, there's one of the vents. It's got one of these reinforced arms where the velcro just meets up, just pushes out that vent. Then there's a corresponding one at the back. Okay, open the back door. Let's get the back vent up. That just locks on there. Make sure there's plenty of airflow. Keeps the heat in but allows the air circulation. There is the TP outer green, and then half of the octagon. So it's 180 degrees across straight there, right up next to the central pole, and then it goes out in the rear octagon, almost like in a circle at the back. That's going to be my sleep area. You can see it's not much more than a mosquito net, but it has got that bathtub design, the sewn in ground sheet, and that really does help with keeping the wind out when you're in there. So I'll start getting my sleeping area made up, the sleep mat and my sleeping bag. I've actually got a hot water bottle as well tonight in case it gets cold, and that's where the wood burner will be going when I make it up, and the flue will be going up through here. That's the camp mostly made up. It's the bike pegged and guy roped out. Put the lock and a bungee around it shortly. Pretty much got everything inside, bed made up. This will be the first proper test of my sleep mat since I did the repair to the puncture in Blackpool, so hopefully it's going to stay up all night. I've got the ground sheet out there, got all my wood there. I'm just about to erect the wood burner stove, then get it inside. I've got a few people on the picnic bench behind me. To be honest, I don't really care what they think. Well, in next to no time it's 10 to 4. I've got the tent up, I've got the stove made up, I've got all the wood in its piles down there inside. Chopped up a little bit of kindling to get it started. So I've got a mix of what I cut this afternoon, damp wood, not wet, so I'll be drying that out on the wood burner once it gets going. Bought quite a bit from home, as you can see. I've got my Guinness ready for tonight. There's the lemon stir fry sauce, my water cell, got full 4 litres in there, that's full up. Got an extra 750ml on the back because I did bring a hot water bottle tonight. Don't think it takes much, but that's going to take more water, plus I've got squash to drink and my Guinness. There we are, all set up. When I did my last hot tent camp, it was at Mangotsfield Station, I did say I thought there was an old subway that ran underneath the platforms. I'd seen it on somebody's YouTube. Having ridden over it on the Bath to Bristol cycle track many times, probably well in excess of 100, I had no idea it was there. I went to look for it, but there was a branch down, and on my ride last Sunday when I went out in the ice, when I was also testing out the Ergo grip, so I retraced back down there and I found it. In fact, I even asked this lady who was walking her dog, was she local? She said yes. Did she know where it was? And she wasn't sure, she'd never heard of it. So I carried on down the track where I thought it may be, where the tree was down last time, and literally just beyond that I saw it. It's on the right hand side. It's a bit tucked away, it'd be easy to ride by and miss it, so I went and had a look around that. I took these photographs. So I may go back to Mangotsfield one winter and do another hot tent camp and actually go and have a look in that subway at night time. Actually, it quite appeals to me. I've probably got about another 30-35 minutes of daylight left, so I'm going to get changed and then start get everything ready for when I want to light the fire. Well, in next to no time, it's 10 to 5. I've got to say, this time just 2 or 3 weeks ago, soon after Christmas, it would have been dark at about 10 past 4. So the evenings definitely seem to be drawing out today, and there's no clear sky either. It's been foggy and overcast all day. Here planes going over underneath the flight path for Bristol Airport. You can see my tent's already there. Locked my bike up. I've made a tripwire between the bike and the tent. Maybe just put a little bit light on, you'll see the tent all lit up. You can see I've got all my fire starting kit ready. There's the fire steel, some cotton wool wipes which will ignite easily on a cardboard platform. Some of these fire starters. Pretty much organised. I've got my water cell there, filled up a pot ready to boil the rice. Got my water bottles there for drinks. Got my chicken all wrapped up, ready to dice up. My rice, all the damp wood there, ready to start drying. Reluctant to start it yet actually, because it's actually still quite mild. I got ever so warm up in the woods cutting that wood this afternoon, just sawing I did anyway, and then splitting it with the axe. Had to take my hat and my neck scarf off, and I was a bit concerned that I might cool down quickly, but I didn't. It's been okay all afternoon. 5:30 and the temperature started to drop now. Time to start my fire, I think. See, I've wedged the door open, got the vents wide open on the door. The dampener at the back is all open to give maximum airflow. I've got my cardboard starting platform there, so I'll get a spark on that cotton wool makeup wipe, put a fire lighter on it, put it in there. You may see I've got a log either side with a lot of combustible material like paper in between, and then I'll start piling on some of these thinner, I suppose, finger diameter twigs. Okay. Round one. First go. There you go. Fire lighter's going. Put that at the back. First go again. Fire lighter's going. Yeah. Put that in there. Feed the rest in. Then start putting these small bits of kindling in. And before you know what's what, that'll be roaring away. Okay. Door shut. Can you see the vents are wide open on the front? Once it takes, I'll shut those down a little bit to just stop it burning too quickly. I've got plenty of dry wood near the stove, but the priority is to start drying these out in the dryer there. Okay, a few minutes, that'll be roaring away. And voila, that's within about 2 minutes. Roaring away. As I said, I've got these, they're not wet logs, but you can see they're damp. The priority is to get those dry in that cage before I get through my dried wood I bought from home. I found it doesn't take too long. Next priority is get some hot water on, ready to boil and cook my rice. And there's one I prepared earlier. And there's my chopping board. There's my knife ready to chop up the chicken breast into pieces. First things first, really, I want to get the water boiled and get that rice on. I can hear the fire roaring away already. So let's get this chicken diced and then just start dicing that up. Cut it long ways, about 90 degrees, into small little chunks. And there you go, it's all my chicken diced up. Because I've been touching uncooked meat, it's crucial I always bring some gel along, wipe my hands. It's not a criticism, but I do see some people who are clearly really experienced campers and their food hygiene, to be honest, leaves a little bit to be desired. So before I start cooking, I make sure everything is ready. The gel, a little bit of hand soap and a towel. The water's steaming already, that won't be far off boiling. I've just put some oil in the pan, I'm going to start heating that up. Then I'll be putting the diced chicken in. And this morning, me and Linda split a jar of this. It's Ben's original sauce for lemon chicken stir fry sauce. So I've got half the jar and one chicken breast. Linda's got a chicken breast at home and the other half of this in the Tupperware in the fridge. The water is not far off boiling, you can see it's steaming. Once it comes to boil, I'll put the oil there at the back of the burner because that's where most of the heat tends to be by the flue. And then I'll start frying the chicken. And once that's golden brown, I'll just stir in the sauce and wait for the rice to finish boiling. Okay, the rice is boiling away, so I've moved that down to the cooler part of the stove. I'll put the chicken up here. You can probably hear it sizzling away. White already. I prefer mine starting to go golden actually, and then I'll pour the sauce in. And I've got 2 cans of Guinness and chocolate pudding later if I still feel like it. And I've just stirred in the lemon sauce. Wow, it's starting to look and smell really nice. And the rice is probably 3 or 4 minutes away, so I'll just carry on marinating that in there. I've actually had to open the door, firstly because of the heat, and obviously there's a lot of water coming off the boiling rice and I don't want to get a build up of condensation here. But you can see the chicken's cooking away nicely while I just wait for the rice to finish off. Down to t-shirt already. First I had to take my top off, my jacket, then I took my fleece off, and I'm now in t-shirt with the door open. I'm still very warm in here. I say it again and again, but these things really pump out some heat. For some reason the windows smoked up. I think that may be to do with the damp wood. I'm hoping that'll clear later on. There we have it then, a bed of boiled rice, stir fried chicken in lemon sauce steaming away. And I'll shortly be opening my first can of Guinness, pouring it in that mug there. But first of all, okay, I've been outside and done all my washing up. And I've got a chocolate pudding, so I've just put it in this pan. I'm going to bring that up to boil. I've just stoked the fire up and I'll let that boil. I've actually bought a hot water bottle, so I would never drink that water. I quite often use it for washing up afterwards, but tonight I'm actually going to use it for my hot water bottle. So I've just got my chocolate pudding on, boiling away there. Just drying out the last of this wood. Most of it seems to be dry at the moment. And I've got the timer, you can see it's 3.5 minutes coming up to, and that needs 8 minutes. Then you just take it out, leave it stand a minute. Somehow it just miraculously dries itself. Then there's a perforation at the top of the bag. You just pull that back, give it a really good stir, and then eat it out the bag. And I quite like these Wayfarers chocolate puddings. I don't have them that often, so when I do, it's a real treat. While I'm waiting for my chocolate pudding, you can see how warm it is in here. I used the infrared gun earlier on And I'll put some screen grabs up on the screen now, but the stove itself was almost 200 degrees C, 190 something. And then I just fired it at the fly sheet. It's only a single skin, just to give me an idea of the temperature in here, and that was 25, 26, 27. I varied it a few times. So it just shows you how warm it is in here. Most centrally heated homes are about 21, 22, aren't they? So you can see it's probably warmer than a centrally heated house. Okay, that's my 8 minutes. Yeah, take it out the bag and leave it stand, give it a minute standing. Then you can see there's perforations there. I just tear it. I've got a long handled spoon to give it a really good stir, then eat it out the bag. And there it is, very, very hot. Can you see it steaming? It doesn't particularly look that nice, but the smell coming out of it, oh, just that reminds me of childhood. And I'll tell you, these really do taste nice. So a heck of a treat. I've just built the fire up a little bit, heating some water up for my hot water bottle. That's the water that I probably would have chucked away anyway, because that's what I boiled the chocolate pudding in. I never drink that water. And I've got quite a bit of wood, dry wood actually, for tomorrow morning. So if I wake up and it's very foggy in the morning, which I suspect it will be, I'll just light the fire actually. And even if I don't get going till midday, I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just out for enjoying myself actually. I'm just gonna lie here a little bit longer while that roars away. Then maybe poke it down a little bit, take all the wood off just to stop it smoking during the night. As always, I've got my lights there, and I always bring a CO alarm, carbon monoxide alarm. I wouldn't come hot tent camping without one. Just that peace of mind. The glass smoked a lot tonight actually. I think that's because of the damp wood to start with. That's as I understand it. It normally clears itself. You can wipe it down at home. I always do clean it actually when I get home. Certainly will clean it and oil it a bit before I put it away for the summer. This will be the last time I use it this winter, and then I'll bring it out again in autumn 2025. So I will wipe that down at home. Certainly never wipe it down when it's hot, because obviously you could crack the glass. And you need to wipe it from inside anyway. Anyway, just going to spend the next half an hour just lying back, enjoying the ambience in here actually. Well, it's about 9:15 p.m. now. I've had a lovely evening here at this picnic site. Went for a little wander down on the jetty earlier on, and then across the bridge over the River Boyd. Actually going to make up a hot water bottle, because once the burner goes down the temperature will drop substantially. But I'm in my inner tent here. It's not much more than a mosquito net really, but it's got that bathtub ground sheet sewn in, so it does protect you from the wind. But you know, a bit of warmth on my feet would be nice. You can see the glass has cleared a little bit. It's really pumping out a lot of heat. Oh, and my water's boiling. I won't put boiling water into the hot water bottle because it'll burst it, so I'll give it a few minutes to cool down. I'm kind of ready for bed. I've just poured my hot water bottle, put it in the inner liner in the sleeping bag, so that'll be down ready for me when I put my feet in there shortly. I've just poked the fire, got all the embers to the back. I think that's probably got about another 10-15 minutes of heat coming out of it. So I think I'm going to turn all these lights off and retire to my bedroom. Right, that's the lights out. Can hear a train going by over that way, the GWR Bristol to Bath Railway. And on my left, I've just been outside for one last comfort break, and I've just seen some lights going by on the Bath to Bristol bike track. It's an embankment, it's about 10-15 feet above me, so that's quite nice. I'm just going to dive in my sleeping bag. Probably not going to go to sleep yet, just going to lie and sort of think about the day in the camp so far, and just kind of relax really. I'll say good night, see you in the morning.